Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for being here. We are here today to mark an important day in the history of Chicago Public Schools and in our city. First, we are here to announce who will be the next leader of the Chicago Public Schools. And let me talk about the process by which we conducted this national search. And make no mistake, this wasn't just any kind of search. First, rather than revealing the mayor's pick from behind a totally closed door process, we set about a different path, a different process. We hired a search firm, we invited the public into the process, and this time, board members had a meaningful and important role in the process. Seems like common sense and ordinary, but in Chicago, this process was truly historic. And throughout the entire process, we maintained a laser focus on finding a candidate that not only had a proven track record of serving a large urban public school district and one that was as diverse as ours, but also shared the lived experiences of the students and the families that make our school communities so great. It's that kind of authentic leadership that has made CPS so successful in driving student excellence over the years. And yes, Dr. Janice Jackson raised the bar on excellence for CEOs. When our school district is led by someone who embodies excellence and also has a lived experience similar to the student that they serve every day, it not only helps ensure that the students' unique needs are met, but it showcases to them, their parents and guardians, and our entire CPS community that they too can get into leadership positions and thrive. It says quite clearly that you can be what you see. The needs of our students also demand someone who is not only empathetic and a role model, but also someone who has a demonstrated track record of success. Someone who understands how to motivate and get the best from our students, our faculty, and our staff, and has a clear vision of what success looks like, and will hold himself accountable to those measurements of excellence. We had a great outpouring of interest across the nation for this position, and I want to thank all those who expressed their interest and participated in this process, especially our finalists. We met a number of interesting people who shared their vision and identified the challenges, but also the opportunities in leading CPS. And I am very pleased to announce that this historic process yielded an historic candidate. An immigrant from Mexico who came to Chicago and grew up right here in Pilsen. His public education journey began at CPS. He attended schools on the Lower West Side, including this one, Benito, Juarez, which we are at this morning. As the eldest of 12 children, the individual has also had a deep sense of responsibility that has made him conscious of the ways in which he can pave the ways of success for others. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Pedro Martinez, a son of Chicago, back home. Come on up. Pedro will be the first ever Latinx person to serve as the CEO of CPS. So let me tell you a bit more about him. He was the first of his siblings to graduate college, making him a role model within his family, and that much more passionate about expanding students' access to high-quality education. It was that experience, that passion, and the connections he formed with dedicated teachers during his time as a student at CPS that would then fuel his trajectory for his entire career. Before entering the public education field, Pedro served as a director of finance, having graduated from the University of Illinois with a degree in accounting. And he worked for Deloitte and PwC as an audit supervisor, and then later went to work for his client, Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Chicago. That financial experience gave him the tools he needed to serve as CPS's chief financial officer back in the early 2000s, where he successfully managed the district's then $5 billion budget, which everyone knows was woefully insufficient to meet the needs, but he did what he could with the resources that he had. And as CPS's chief area officer in 2008, he managed over 28 schools on the west side. After his time in CPS, Pedro took his talents further west to Nevada and served in various roles in the public school system there, including being a superintendent. From 2009 to 2015, Pedro helped to close education gaps for students of color, raise student achievement and graduation rates, and even led the implementation of a new teacher professional growth system. After supporting students and staff in Nevada, he then went south to San Antonio to serve in his latest role as superintendent of schools for the San Antonio Independent School District, where his talent and passions really shone through. There, he increased the district's grade from an F to a B, an achievement that earned the district statewide recognition from the governor and commissioner of education, who named it the fastest improving large district in 2018, and noted that it had the highest achievement gains of any district in 2019. He also helped the district achieve a 100% increase in the number of students admitted to four-year universities, closing the opportunity gaps for Black and Latinx students. And it proved to everyone that a school district where 93% of the students live in poverty, that he and they, working together, could deliver rising education outcomes. Pedro's accomplishments have rightfully made him a national leader in education. And as he has demonstrated recently, he is a staunch advocate for children, defying a foolish ban on masks in public schools. Pedro has stood squarely on the side of the children in his district to protect them from this horrible pandemic. He has truly left a lasting positive impact on students across the country, including right here in our city, where he had worked with his 28 nieces and nephews who are all students in Chicago's schools. I am beyond thrilled that Pedro has chosen to come full circle back to his hometown to serve our students and their families. And I want to formally congratulate him publicly on accepting this new role, pending board approval. And let me just say, I have pledged to Pedro my full support. We need him to be successful, because if he is successful, that means our students are successful. Let me also extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude for Dr. Jose Torres. We owe Dr. Torres a debt of gratitude for his selfless sacrifice in coming out of retirement and taking the reins of CPS at a time of transition and leading our efforts over the course of the summer to reach our families that had been out of touch with CPS, to make sure that the protocols were in place for us to be able to open, and in fact getting school open, and being a strong, steady leader. Dr. Torres, on behalf of our students and families in a grateful city, thank you so very much. And at this time, I would like to invite Dr. Martinez to say a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what I would ask of you. You have plenty of time to express your views, but this time is a time for the students to introduce themselves, for us to introduce a new leadership. Dr. Martinez, welcome to Chicago.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. So first of all, I just want to thank Mayor Lightfoot. I couldn't be more excited to work for a champion and a leader that's willing to take tough issues here in the city of Chicago, a city that I love, a city where I grew up, where it all started for me. My father brought us to this country. In fact, my sister Maria is here with me. My mom is with me. My mother-in-law also, and one of my nieces is here as well. But it all started here. My father came when I was turning 6. Maria was just, she was just about 1 year old. And we came to Chicago because Chicago embraced us as immigrants. It was the churches here in Pilsen, St. Procopius, St. Pius, Providence of God, that embraced my family. I started at Walsh Elementary School. It was a 6th grade teacher, Mr. Asher, that saw something in me that as an immigrant child, I couldn't see myself. And it was a relay. It was a relay of amazing educators that really changed the trajectory of my life as well as the life of my family. From Mr. Asher in 6th grade, Mr. Tibbet in 7th and 8th grade, to teachers here at Benito Juarez, Miss O'Connor, Miss Megan, there's so many of them, Miss Trent, Mr. Smith, all teachers that saw something in me that I couldn't see myself. And I remind our teachers every day how powerful they are, because that's what they do for our children. That's the ability. And so I have a commitment, I will make a commitment that I will be making sure that I listen to my teachers, that we listen to our parents. We know that right now, as we're fighting this pandemic, we gotta give ourselves some grace. This last year, for the entire nation, for the entire world, it was difficult for our families, it was difficult for our staff, it was difficult for our children. And I know, and again, I joined I joined Mayor Lightfoot in thanking Dr. Torres. We got the district open, and now, of course, we have to now keep it open and with a priority on safety and stability. But I just want to share with you that I am so excited because I know the potential of our children. I know that when we partner with our parents and teachers, and the amazing community organizations that are here in the city of Chicago, there's just a wealth of them, as well as leadership across our city. I know what's possible for our children. I know that our children can reach their full potential, and all of us united, we can achieve that. We can make Chicago the best district in the country. We can not only build on its success, but we can make sure that every child has that access and that opportunity that we know is possible in this amazing city. And that is what I'm excited about. That is what motivates me. As the mayor said earlier, I have a very strong track record for all children, including our Latino children here in Chicago, where I know we still have challenges of overcrowded. Our African American children, that I know we have to build trust with those communities, and we have to ensure that they have the same access to the quality options that this district has as everybody else, as well as all of our children, because again, it's all of us together. It's the city of neighborhoods. That is our strength. And I pledge to you that my goal is to bring people to the table, to work with each neighborhood, and really ensure that every child has that high quality choice for that child. As a parent myself, I have an 11-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. By the way, they're both very excited to come back to Chicago because our family's all here, and they all have their little cohorts with my nephews and nieces. But I know as a parent, and I share the concerns of our parents, I know how difficult it is right now managing through COVID. I understand. My children right now don't have access to vaccines. I understand the fears. One of the things that I'm very looking forward to is working with Mayor Lightfoot to be the champion in the city for vaccinations, because we can definitely always get stronger in safety procedures, but there's only one solution for us to help manage through this pandemic. It is vaccines. And so I'm excited to partner with the mayor, with our Department of Health, and I've seen the progress that the city has made on vaccines, but we know that this is the beginning. We're going to be in the vaccine, in encouraging vaccines for a very long time, and I am optimistic that our 5 to 11-year-olds are going to be approved hopefully in the next month or so. So this is the time for us to come together. We have to be united. We cannot be fighting within ourselves. The enemy is COVID. The enemy is the systemic racism we've had in our country. The enemy is poverty. There are many enemies. We are on the same side. We are on the same side, and I pledge to you, Mayor, our board president, to our staff, we are going to unite people because we are on the same side. But again, thank you, Mayor. I am just honored, Mayor. I am honored that the process you developed gave me an opportunity as a native, somebody from Chicago, an immigrant kid, to come back home and to come to his dream job. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I want to also begin by thanking the mayor This has been an unprecedented process. I think a template has been created by this mayor that will be used for decades to come in selecting the leader of the Chicago Public Schools for decades to come. And so I want to thank the mayor for allowing a process that unfolded, that included the participation of board members, parents, principals, teachers, communities, individuals responding to surveys and providing feedback. And we had hundreds, literally hundreds of people participating in the process. This had never happened before in the city of Chicago. So I want to also thank our board members. We have Dwayne Truss and Lucino Sotelo, who are here today, who participated directly also in the process. And I want to say to Pedro that the board looks forward to working with him. We have a lot of challenges in front of us. They come daily, but we are ready with a new leader to attack those head on and to make the kinds of changes that are necessary. We don't have the luxury of time here. Pedro has to hit the ground running. He will. I also want to thank Dr. Jose Torres for filling in during this time. He was retired, as the mayor said. He came in and he took on a tough assignment. And I think he did that because he cares about the city of Chicago. He cares about the students in our system. He worked for our system. He knows how it operates, and he knows where the deficiencies are and where the strengths are. And so he will be able to provide Pedro with some guidance to ensure a smooth transition here within the next month or two. And so once again, thank you, Mayor, for allowing this process to work and for honoring the process. Pedro was the recommendation that came out of the process, along with one other individual. And so we are appreciative that the mayor saw fit, unlike with previous administrations, to really listen and take the lead of a democratic, small d, democratic process that I think led us to this historic day here today. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Alderman Michael Scott Jr., Alderman of the 24th Ward and Chairman of the Education Committee. Want to also give my thanks to the mayor for following this process through. There has not been a time in the city where parents and the board members and all folks from all lives and all walks of the city of Chicago had an opportunity to participate in who the next leader of CPS will be. I, as a parent, am very it makes my heart warm to understand that we have a seat at the table. Now, my seat is not the real seat. My wife is actually the CPS parent in the family. And so I know, talking to her and understanding that she has a voice and she knows that she can go to the board and to this new CEO and voice her opinion is really important. Pedro talked a lot about being involved with parents. That is what parents want. That is what parents need. That is what's going to move the district forward, and that is what is going to unite us. And so thank you, Pedro, for your commitment to honoring parents' wishes and bringing them to the seat at the table. I also want to thank Dr. Jackson. We talked a lot yesterday in City Council about how she set the table for the next CEO and how the lift won't be so heavy because of all of the work and all of the people that she put in place. And so I would be remiss without thanking her, and then also thanking Dr. Torres, who has done, I think, a marvelous job in the short time that he has had here at CPS in making sure that the district is open on time, and our children are safe and they're back in schools. And so thank you for your commitment to the city of Chicago. Thank you to our students, and thank you to our parents. Again, I want to wish well to Pedro. I know that he has been around, and we had a brief conversation this morning. He has been through CPS for a long time. As a matter of fact, he and my father worked together when my father was the board president, and he was the chief financial officer. And so I want to offer my friendship and my mentorship as he's moving through the city of Chicago, the same way that my father did with him when he was here. Good luck and welcome home.
Buenos días todos. Voy a comenzar en español ya que es el día de la independencia de México y que viva México. Puerto Rico para mí es independencia de José Torres porque este es el retiro para mí de nuevo. Quiero comenzar para darles las gracias a los estudiantes, los padres, a los maestros, los directores, los empleados de la oficina central por ayudar a abrir las escuelas y por tener una tremenda asistencia el primer día y todo eso. Entonces, también quiero dar las gracias a los miembros de la junta directiva y a la alcaldesa Lightfoot por darme la oportunidad para servir. Y finalmente, felicidades a mi amigo Pedro Martinez por tener esta posición. Y como decimos, vamos a pasar el batón, ¿no? Y entonces yo no tengo un batón, pero sí tengo un pin que te lo quiero dar. Este es el batón para ti.
Perfecto, gracias.
Y felicidades. So happy Mexican Day, Independence Day. Que viva México. And I also mentioned that it was, in a sense, Puerto Rican Independence Day, at least Jose Torres Independence Day, because I get to go back to something that I started for a minute. I want to begin by thanking the parents and the students and the teachers, the school leaders, central office staff for really working very diligently in opening schools on August 30. With all the mitigation factors and filters that we were able to put in place. We had a great first day attendance. We have great enrollment numbers that on September 27th, the 20th day, we'll be able to disclose. I want to thank the board members that are here, President Del Valle, and the other board members for their trust and the opportunity to serve. And thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, for the call. And finally, I want to congratulate Pedro Martinez for, and I passed the baton. I don't know, you noticed that I gave him a pin. I don't have another pin, so that's yours. So best wishes for a successful and long tenure. Thank you.
My name is Juan Carlos Ocon, and I'm the proud principal of Benito Juarez Community Academy. I want to thank all of you. Thank you. I want to thank all of you for joining us today on such a momentous occasion. On behalf of our entire Juarez community, the Pilsen community, I want to officially welcome home Juarez alumnus and CEO, Pedro Martinez. Today is the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, and it is only fitting that this announcement take place here at Juarez, a school born of struggle and civic action. This announcement represents a continued commitment to capitalizing on the talent that we have here in our city and in building a CPS for all students. Mayor, thank you. We could not be more proud. CEO Martinez, bienvenido a su casa.
Gracias, señor.
And thank you, all of you, for being here today. Muchas gracias.
Now we're happy to answer questions from the press.
All right, members of the media, we have 2 questions per reporter. Alejandra will be passing down the mic. Let's start off with Craig Wall.
Mayor, I had a question for Mr. Martinez, if we could, to start out.
Sure. Welcome to the Chicago Press Corps.
Chicago will be moving to a fully elected school board, phased-in approach. How did that factor into your decision, and what concerns do you have about how that will impact your ability to do your job?
You know, for the last decade, I mean, that's all I've had is elected school boards, and including in my former district, San Antonio, 3 different elections, complete changeover of my board. I've had a 7-0 vote since I started, and what I've learned is that it's about alignment. But I'll tell you, the only concern I would have is to have the support of the mayor, the support of the city, to tackle these challenges of poverty, to tackle these challenges of, you know, just the historic segregation issues that we've had here in the city that I grew up with. You need everybody at the table. And to have the power of the mayor's office There's nothing like that. And so if there's any concern, I don't want to lose that. And so, because we need a champion not only for the district but for the city.
And if we could, Mayor, if we could. Quick Google search of Pedro Martinez reveals the fact that he was once fired from a superintendent's job. You're a big person on integrity. There was issues raised about that. Can you speak to any concerns that might have had in your mind in selecting him as your choice?
Well, that's the danger of Google, because that's not correct. There was a mutual separation. Obviously, I'm fully aware of it. I have no qualms whatsoever. I think he's proven himself as an incredible leader, a national leader, and the results that he went on to win, working hand in hand with school boards, with parents, with students, teachers in San Antonio, I think really speaks for itself.
All right, Mayor Sarah Karp, WBEZ.
Hi, this is for Pedro Martinez. I talked to the union leader in San Antonio, and she's not a big fan, and she says that you did not have a great relationship with the union there. Can you talk a little bit about how you're going to build a relationship with the union here, because that has been an important thing?
Sure. So just for context, AFT is also the predominant union in all the major cities in Texas, and we know that especially during COVID, things became very divisive, not only in San Antonio but all over the country. And it was, frankly, I would say this: we have to give each other ourselves grace, because we didn't know what we didn't know. There was a lot of fear, so they took a position that our schools shouldn't be open. I took a position that I'm going to open them in a safe way, and so we gradually opened the schools. We always kept our regular communication every single month. And in fact, and she takes credit for this, we were always the most conservative district in the entire region of our county, because I knew the death rates were 5 times higher in my district than they were in the more affluent zip codes. But we still were able to keep the schools open last year, ending the year with almost 70% of our children in person at the elementary school, with trust from both staff and parents. So I consider her my critical friend, but we also respected each other. We didn't always agree. And here in Chicago, again, we're on the same side. I just really believe that if we can come to an understanding that the goal is that, first of all, the understanding that in-person instruction, and I'm going to repeat this, in-person instruction is what the majority of our children, especially children of poverty, that's what they need. That's where they learn the best. We saw that firsthand, and that was coming from both my teachers and my parents, the mental health challenges that our children went through that were remote last year. And I know there's going to be research reports for decades that will be written about it, as well as the academic losses. And so as long as we can come to that understanding, we can work through the rest. But we have to make sure, and we have to listen to parents. And I get it. I have a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and an 11-year-old. They're not eligible for vaccines. I've been, even in my post in San Antonio, I've been actually advocating at the federal level to have urgency for the 5 to 11-year-olds, of course, in a very responsible way, in a clear timeline, because families need that. And so I think there's going to be areas where I can come to, some hopefully collaboration with the CTU. And again, there'll be areas we don't agree. I still think we can still respect each other.
So it seemed like the main complaint that she had about you is the privatization that you brought to the schools, the taking over of failing schools by private organizations. And, that's something that you kind of borrowed from Chicago. It's what we did here for a long time. Can you talk about what role you see charter schools and privatization to play in CPS?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. So first of all, context again, everybody. In Texas, charters are authorized independently of districts, unlike San Antonio. And there, one of the challenges, when I became superintendent there in my first year, a law got passed that low-performing schools would be closed, or boards or districts would be taken over. By the way, Houston ISD is still in a legal fight over this, unless you partnered with a charter operator. And so it left my board and I with really limited options, because I'll tell you, I'm an advocate for parents. I don't like displacing children. They already have enough issues in their lives, and these were very high poverty schools. And so we did, my board said, let's try it. Let's be open to it if it's going to protect, not closing our schools. So we did that. Of course, that was completely against the philosophy of our union. Fast forward, lessons that I've learned. districts are always the best at turning around their own schools if they're given the chance. And so we have turned around over 70% of we reduced our low performing schools by more than 70% pre-COVID, and we're on track to reduce it another 70% in the first year when COVID hit. And frankly, the operators that we partner with haven't done as strong of a job. The schools are a little better, but they're not. And so what I've learned is that charter operators can bring some interesting lessons and some good strategies, and frankly, there's some good charter operators here in Chicago, but there is no magic bullet. It really is down to the basics, ensuring that every classroom has a great teacher, that every school has a great principal, that we engage the families. That's what I believe in. And I'm not against charter schools, but I'm very data driven. I look at results. One of the things, and the mayor said this, I will hold myself accountable to our parents, to the community, to ensure that our schools continue their success or to get stronger, and that every child has a quality school. It will take time, and I will need a lot of help. I can't do it by myself, but I commit to you. And again, we have to look at strategies, because if I'm a parent, what I want to know that I'm going to have a loving teacher in the classroom of my children, that I'm going to have a teacher that's going to build their aspirations, whether it's a charter school or a traditional school. But again, there's been some valuable lessons that I've learned just from our experience in San Antonio and in Texas. And every charter has to be charters that we have our values, and we control the enrollment. They don't get to choose which children, which is very different than the independent charters.
All right, Tamon Bradley, WGN.
Welcome home, Pedro. I would imagine as you applied for this job, you did your homework on the district. Can you tell us just your thoughts? Where is CPS? Where does CPS need to go? What are the major challenges? And also, is it a better district than it was when you were here?
So it definitely is a better district than I was here. When I look at, I was saying this to our principal here in Juarez. I was in Chicago when we established the post-secondary initiative that still exists today. And I said, when I see record numbers of children from Benito, Juarez going to four-year colleges, that's when I know that our initiative has arrived, and that has been happening in Benito, Juarez. So it's definitely better. I think the challenge is, frankly, is we need to navigate together through this pandemic. It really is. There's going to be longer-term challenges that I promise, I commit to you, we will have discussions about that. But right now, in the short term, we need to make sure that our schools have everything they need. Dr. Torres has done a great job. But again, this pandemic continues to evolve. Every time we think we're ahead of it, we're just not. And so we're humbled by it. And so we need to make sure that we work together. We have a champion with our mayor to make sure that all the resources around health, vaccinations, they're going to be there for us. And thank you, Mayor, because that's not what I have in my state right now, or in my former state.
All right, Mary Ann Ahern, NBC5.
Mr. Martinez, please stay. Thank you very much. One of the comments that the Chicago Teachers Union has made here is that you do not have a background as a teacher, and that you don't have an education degree, but you will come with an MBA. Does that help or hurt?
So I'll tell you, I had an opportunity to become a superintendent right as I left CPS, because I was already supervising schools here, and I decided to actually go deeper in academics. And first of all, the reason I am here in front of you is because of teachers. And that grounds me every single day. And I've been in thousands of classrooms, and I still, to this day, I am excited when I'm in a classroom where a teacher has the children engaged, that it's a rigorous lesson plan, the children are struggling through it, and that's my passion. And I've always come from an approach of being humble, because I am learning, and I always say I will always be learning. I spend quite a bit of time focused on academics, and I think it's one of the reasons that in my track record, I've attracted the top talent in education across the country to work for me. Because they're actually motivated by the vision we put in place. And so it has not been a factor, but I will also say I will always be humbled by all of our teachers, because I know how difficult their work is, and they're the reason that I am here in front of you.
Thank you. Mayor, I apologize for missing the beginning of your remarks, but could you address that all of those who applied? I understand some 25. Why did you choose someone without an education degree who has never been a classroom teacher?
I chose someone who I thought was an excellent leader and has a track record of success. I think his record speaks for itself. Just even looking at what he's done in San Antonio, taking a district that is extraordinarily poor, I would say by design, given that it's Texas. 93% of the kids live in poverty, took a district that started out when he was there at a grade level F and raised it to a grade level B, and then made significant increases in student achievement year after year after year. You can't do that without being a gifted leader, about somebody who was humble, who was working hand in glove with teachers and staff and also the board. He's a national leader, and as I said in my remarks, also an advocate for the children. The fact that he is taking on the governor of Texas and what I believe is an absolutely wrong-headed and dangerous practice of banning masks in schools to make sure that our kids are safe, and throwing that to the side as the state of Texas has done, to stand up and say, no, I stand with my kids, I stand on behalf of their public health and safety. I think he's going to be a great leader for CPS.
All right, Jesse Echeverria, Univision.
For Mr. Martinez, in Spanish, if you don't mind, por favor. I'll ask the question in English. As you may know, almost half of the students that are enrolled in CPS are Latino. In Spanish, would you please share what is your commitment to this community in particular, and also how important it is for you to maintain open the dual language programs, dual language schools?
Sí, no, para mí me da mucho orgullo representando la comunidad latina, pero también representando la ciudad de Chicago. I am very proud of being able to represent the Latino community, but really representing the entire city of Chicago. And one of the things that I'm most proud of in Texas, in San Antonio, me da mucho orgullo que cuando empecé en Texas, con 30% a lo menos de niños que inglés era su segundo idioma, nomás teníamos dos programas de dual en 100 escuelas. Ahora ya tenemos más de 61. Y tenemos el programa que está creciendo más en todo el país. Y esos niños ahorita están teniendo éxito que está hasta más del distrito. I'm very proud that in San Antonio, and Texas has a very, very bad history of racism, discriminating against children who spoke Spanish. We started with 2 dual language programs in 100 schools, and now we have 61, all in partnership with teachers and parents. And now our ELL children, English language learners, are now outperforming the entire district and the entire state. Y para mí me da mucho orgullo trabajando con los padres, porque nosotros, mis padres viniendo de México, yo sé que nuestros padres tienen el mismo sueño para todos sus niños, que todos tengan su éxito, que todos superen los padres. I know that for all of our families, they have the same dream. They want their children to do better than this, especially our immigrant families who came here with nothing. So for me, I'm just proud to be able to support those families, but really, again, support all of our families here in the city of Chicago.
Iris Berrios, Telemundo.
In Spanish too, for Mr. Martinez. Welcome to Chicago. Y lo que me gustaría saber es qué significa para usted el ser nombrado como el CEO de CPS en un día como hoy, cuando su comunidad celebra la independencia. Y segundo, ¿cuál es el mensaje que usted tiene para los padres que piden como opción tener el aprendizaje de forma remota?
Primero, me da mucho orgullo porque para ser un niño que vino aquí en Chicago de inmigrante, con mi papá que trabajó 2 trabajos toda su vida, murió de una edad que ni siquiera conoció mi hijo porque una vida muy dura. Y para estar aquí, en esta posición, pudiendo ayudar a todos nuestros niños en la ciudad de Chicago, para mí es algo muy, muy emocional. To be an immigrant child, to come to this country with nothing. My father worked 2 jobs all of his life. He died at a young age, never even got to know my son because he had such a hard life. And to be here now in this position, to be able to impact so many of our children, I'm just beyond emotion. Yo voy a escuchar a los padres. Yo sé que las escuelas ahorita están trabajando ahorita para asegurar que los niños están seguros, pero también yo sé que los padres están preocupados. Así que quiero escucharlos, quiero entender lo que está pasando y para ver cómo los podemos ayudar. I know that our parents right now are scared. Our schools are doing the best they can in keeping our children safe, but we also know that parents are scared. And so again, I'm committing to listen to our parents, understand what their concerns are, and again, really look at what is the best way to serve their children.
All right, Greg Pratt, Tribune.
Good morning and welcome. And Mayor, just on the big picture of privatization and charter schools, there's a history, and Mr. Martinez spoke about his thoughts on that and some of that context. But what are your thoughts now on privatization and charter schools, and could we see more of that in Chicago?
Well, we we obviously have an agreement with the Chicago Teachers Union that speaks to that. My focus is, and my challenge to CPS all along has been, let's make sure that we improve the quality of the schools that we have. Hold them all accountable. Charter, CPS schools, or our option schools. It's not acceptable that any different standard operates across any of them. What we want is the highest performing schools that are meeting the needs of our students and our families to make sure that our kids are set up for success in whatever their life journeys is. So that's what I'm focused on.
All right, Mila from Chalkbeat.
Hi, I have a question for Mr. Martinez and one for Mayor Lightfoot.
Which one do you want first?
I guess I'll start with you since you're at the podium. I was wondering if you could give us a sense of the compensation package that Mr. Martinez is receiving and whether we will get a copy of his contract soon.
The final details will be worked out, and as soon as they're available, we will let you know.
So it's not finalized yet?
We haven't inked the deal, but we have agreed on the broad strokes of the terms.
Are you able to touch on some of the broad strokes, or not until
we
it's
will
final?
let you know as soon as we finalize the deal.
Okay. And for Mr. Martinez, I just wanted to clarify, do you start immediately, or do you have a start date set for later in the school year, and what's on your to-do list for your first weeks on the job?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm very blessed that my district in San Antonio is in such a good position. I have a very strong team there, and I've already talked to my board, and they know that this is my hometown. And so my plan is to start the last week of September, right around September 29th, to have a few days overlap with Dr. Torres, and really to hit the road running. Again, I've been in the middle of the pandemic just like all of you, so it's nothing new for me. And there's some lessons that I've learned, but I also want to step back and really understand what's happening here in our schools. And like I said, I know that our staff here in CPS, they're doing the best they can to keep our children safe. And for me, it's just, again, being their cheerleader, their supporter, as well as, again, being the supporter and cheer for our parents, because I know this is a difficult time. That will be really what I'm going to be looking at right from the beginning. And like I said earlier, you will see, and we have an amazing champion with the mayor, this push on vaccines, because that is the only way we're going to get through this pandemic, and that includes advocacy at the federal level so that there's an urgency and a clear timeline of when those vaccines will be available for our children.
All right, Nader, Sun Times, with the last two questions.
Welcome to Chicago, Mr. Martinez. Special education has been a big issue at CPS for a number of years, and your predecessor, Dr. Janice Jackson, made it a priority when she came in. I think a lot of parents and advocates would say it still hasn't been fixed. Is that something you'll be focusing on coming into the CEO office, and how do you plan to address some of the problems?
No, absolutely. I'm very proud that in San Antonio, especially at the secondary level, our outcomes are amazing for our special needs children in terms of college readiness, being able to get living wage jobs right after high school. And so I really want to understand what's happening in special ed. And there's two separate issues, right? So one is ensuring that families are getting all the services that they deserve, and that's one priority that I want to focus on and understand what is happening there. The other is just really looking at our academic data to make sure that the achievement gaps, that we are transparent about them, that we understand also the impact it has on our African American boys and on our Latino boys. And so those are things that I want to prioritize and look at. But again, I want to first understand and listen. And I want parents at the table, I want our staff at the table, and then all of us working together to solve those issues.
Is this on? Yeah. Another issue that's been big over the past year, not just in Chicago, but across the country, is the issue of school police. And here it's been a huge protest point for students wanting to remove police from schools. The district has undergone a process over the past year for schools to reimagine safety plans. What's your stance on school police? Do you think there should be uniformed police officers in public schools? And how do you feel about the district's contract with the police department?
It's a great question. So it's a tough balance, I will tell you, because first of all, our parents want and require safety in our schools, including safety against anything that, we've seen events that have happened across the nation. In one of my districts, I actually saw an event firsthand where a child actually killed a teacher, a 12-year-old. And so it's a tough conversation. For me, I think we have to have the conversation, understand the concerns. First of all, I will tell you, I am a big believer that our police officers should never be used for disciplinary actions. But we also have to balance, again, how do we ensure the safety in the schools? What I'm really looking forward to understanding, especially here coming back to Chicago, most districts in the country have their own police forces where they can train them in a certain way on how to work with our children. We sort of have a little bit of a hybrid here. And so that's something that I just want to explore with our police chief, with the mayor, and really try to see what's the best solution for our schools. But like I said, my commitment is I need to make sure we're meeting the needs of parents. Parents want schools to be safe. I understand also that, again, and this is frankly our fault on the educator side, we should not be using officers for disciplining. I think it puts them in a very, very difficult position, and frankly, it's not their fault. And so again, let's have that conversation. It's one of the great conversations we need to have, and we need to figure out how to come with some solution together.
Thank you very much, everyone. That's a wrap. Have a great day.